Legends, welcome back to another PKT video. On today's video we're going to talk about the Magellan deck. But first of all, we are going to do a member shout out for all the new members that have joined up with my new PKT memberships. We have the Animation, thank you so much Legend for joining the channel memberships. We have Jared, thank you Legend. We have Neji X3, thank you so much Legend. We have Ian with Ian, who also donated a membership as well as getting a membership for himself. And lastly, we have Old Time Besties Rena. Thank you guys so much for joining the memberships. Anyone that wants to join the memberships, the link is in the description. I'm going to start doing shout outs at the start of my pre-records. But yeah guys, let's wrap it up. Let's get into this Magellan deck and let's talk through it. We played this a few times on the sim, and the only thing I had issues with, but this is me still learning to play obviously, was Whitebeard was my only real issue with this deck. So we have the nice alt art Magellan leader, absolutely nice.
But not anymore. Thanks to the
So
Victorian government's home buyer fund,
we run a 4 of
bank could be yours with as little
Hannibal,
as 5%
which this guy's a
deposit for
searcher.
eligible applicants.
It's an
Search
on play.
Bendigo
It has a
Bank Home Buyer
1k
Fund
power,
and come
a
home to
counter
a better
power,
loan.
2k
Bendigo
power,
Bank,
and it
the
costs.
better big
It's a
bank.
cost of 1.
Lending criteria,
So
terms, conditions,
his
fees and
ability
charges
is
apply,
that, yeah,
and
you
subject to change.
look at the top 5 cards of the deck. Cannot be Hannibal, and it can only be an impel down, so you can't get another Hannibal off his search. But there is a 4 of there. Still a good card, especially if you're searching up combos or something like that. So there's a 4 of there. We have 4 Shikis. It's a cost of a 2. It's 3,000 power. It's got 2k counter power. It's a trigger card, so from life. So when you take a life, its trigger. I'm still getting used to this camera. Its trigger is minus a Don. Back to the deck to play this card, which works with the Magellan leader. The Magellan leader is when you mine it once per turn, on your turn, when a Don card on your field is returned to your Don deck, this leader gains 1,000 power. So it actually works. It's really weird because with Kaido, when you minusing Don, it's hard to get back up. But for some reason, this really works with this deck. It's crazy. This is Jack. He's a cost of 3. He's a 1k counter, and he's 4,000 power. His is when attacking minus 1 Don back to the deck. Your opponent trashes 1 card, so from their hand. So this is a really good card. Really good. So I only run a 2 of. We'll just try and get these up here so you can see how many I run. So Little Sadie, this is a really good card. This is basically like the starter deck, ulti, and page 1. So it's a cost of 3. It's a 3k power, 2k counter power. On play up to 1 Jailer Beast type card from your hand. So it doesn't state the cost of. It only says to play up to 1. So this is a really good card. I run 4 of them. And like running this seems to work pretty good. This deck flows pretty well with what you're running it. So this one's a 4 of. It's a 4 cost 5k power with 1k counter power. Now this is a Jailer Beast, so you can play this off Little Sadie, and it's a double attack. So this card's a double attack, deals 2 damage to life. On KO, if your leader has the Impel Down type, add up to 1 Don from your Don deck and rest it. So this is a way of getting some of your Don cards back that you've put back in the deck. So it's a 4 of. Set that there. Probably going to run out of room. Now, I only run 3 of these because I've only got 3. I've still got to get 1 more. So I've put something else as a substitute. Not that I don't know if it'll really work in the deck. I haven't played it, but Haven't been able to play it because I've taken out the games on the sim before I can. So this is a 3 of. I want it to be a 4 of. It's a 4 cost, 5k, 1k counter power, and it's a blocker, and it does the same thing as the Minotaur. So Minnow Koala is exactly the same, except it's a blocker. So it's a blocker, but on KO you can take a Don card from the deck and rest it. So that's like recovery for Don. Those cards. We'll sit that there. That's the 3 of. I absolutely love this blocker card. This is like a really good blocker card. So we have 4 Queen. It's a cost of 5, 6k power, 1k counter power, and it's a blocker. On play, you minus a Don back to the deck. You can draw 2 and trash 1 card. So draw 2 cards in potential that you might get something really good, and then trash 1 you really don't want. So that's a 4 of. This is a really good card too. Set them over there. So this is X-Drake. He is a 4 of. He costs 5. It's cost of 5. He's 5k counter power. He's 5k power, 2k counter power, and on play minus 1 Don back to the deck, and your opponent trashes a card. So it's good when you want the opponent to trash a card. Let's say, you know, it's at that point of the game where you need the opponent to trash a card. You play it down, has to trash a card. You've minus a Don. You get 1 extra K to your lead anyway. So you minus a Don, but it's going to the lead. It's pretty good. Now we have Magellan. This card's absolutely pretty good. I think I need 1 more alt art of this before I can put it in the deck. I'm trying to get the alt arts slowly for most of the stuff. So this one costs 5. He's a 6k power and no counter power whatsoever. On play, minus a Don, your opponent returns 1 Don card from their field to their deck. Now, this is the tricky part with this card. On your opponent's turn, when the character is KO'd, your opponent returns 2 Don cards from the field to their deck, right? Okay. But what I have realised when I was playing on the sim against this deck is if they're attacking, so it's on their turn, not on the opponent's turn, my turn. If on their turn they're attacking you, you take life, you get a jet pistol from life. As long as they don't put any Don underneath Magellan, you can use that jet pistol for free to get rid of it, and you don't have to minus 2 Don because it states on your opponent's turn. So there is a loophole around that. I try and not kill these if I'm going up against them, just because I don't want to lose my Don unless it's close to the end where I'm okay with losing it. That's going against it, obviously. We have 3 kings. So there's 2 types of king in purple. I think this king's really good. So he costs 6. He's a 7k power. On play, minus a Don back to the deck. KO up to one of your opponents with a 4 cost or less. So he gets rid of someone straight away. You can't stop that. I run a 3 of him. He's actually pretty good. The other one's a 7 cost, 7k. And you have to minus 2 Don back to the deck to KO 1 card up to a 3 cost and 1 card up to a 2 cost. So it is good, but it's not good if you don't have that card on board. Like, if your opponent has higher cards than that on board, you can't play it. Whereas this one, no matter what, there's always going to be a 4 cost somewhere on board or a 3 cost. Not always a 2 or a 1. So you could be wasting it if you use the other dude. Now this guy's out of the film deck. It's Douglas Bullet. He is an 8 cost. He's a 10k power. He has no counter power like the last 2 cards haven't that I've shown. His ability is activate main once per turn. You minus 4 Don back to the deck, right? Rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a 6 cost or less. then this character gains double attack during this turn, which deals 2 damage. So if you play him out, right, you can automatically minus the Don back to the deck, activate his main, rest 2 of the opponent's characters and swing for game, or swing those characters and kill them. However you want to play it out, you can actually use his ability he's played on. You just can't swing with him, which means you don't get the double attack in. But he is a pretty good card just to rest cards, especially blockers. So here's a 3-off, but he's got no counter power. Now, this is the one I only put 1 in because I didn't have another Minnow Koala. So this is Ulti. She's an 8 cost, 8k power, no counter power. On play, minus 2 Don back to the deck. Your leader and all of your characters gain 1,000 power until the start of your next turn. So she's actually not too bad because that stuffs up your opponent's turn, especially if they've got it worked out. You drop this at the end. They've got to try and work out the Don, how to distribute it across all their characters to try and get attacks through. So it's good to stuff up their game a little bit. Now this is my all-time favourite card. This card is Kaido. So this one's out of the structure deck. Here's a 9 cost, 10k, no counter power. On play, minus 5 Don back to the deck. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a 6 cost or less. This character gains rush during this turn. So not only do you play it out, delete a character on your opponent's field, he gains rush. So he's a 10k swing on the turn he's played, which is actually really good. You just got to watch when you play him and when to swing, because depending who you're going up against, they're going to go for this card straight away as soon as he's rested, if they can. We have 2 Lions threat Imperial Earthbind. Sorry about that, guys. Bit of a tongue twister. It's a 3 cost event card, but it says main. So blue's main, red is counter. So its main, you play it on your turn, not your opponent's turn, is minus 2 Don. So you pay 3 to play it. You minus 2 of those Don back to the deck. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 5 costs or less. And the trigger is add up to 1 Don card from your Don deck and set it as active. So trigger is when you take a life card and it has a trigger on it, that's when you can trigger it. So this is actually a really good card, especially there's a lot of cards that are around a 4 or 5. I know with green, the Law Blocker is a 5 cost, so you can eliminate that real quick. So this is actually a really good card also to have in the deck. You don't need to use it all the time, but it's just good to have there, especially if you go up against a certain deck. 2 Thunder Bagwas. So you can see the red, it's a counter. So it costs 2, your leader or one of your characters gains 4,000 power during this battle. Then if you have 2 or less life cards, add 1 Don card from your deck and rest it. And the trigger is add 1 Don card from your deck and set it as active. So this is a really good card too. It's annoying when you have to sit 2 Don aside for the card, if that makes sense. Like, there's other counter cards that only cost 1 and they might be 3 cost, which is Guard Point. Radical Beam, which is red, so this is 2 red events. Radical Beam's really good. So it's a 1 cost, but if you have 2 life cards or less, it becomes a 4k power instead of a 2k, which is pretty decent. But for purple, this isn't too bad because it brings a Don back out from the deck that you might have minused earlier on. So it's about recovering that Don back, and this is a really good card to do that. And lastly, this is from OP-02. I would have to say this event card is absolutely insane, especially if you put your 2 Don aside and don't forget about it. This is, I know we ran 4 of. Judgment of Hell, but on the sim before it came out, it was Hell's Judgment. So Judgment of Hell, it's a counter. So make sure you've got 2 Dons standing at the end of your turn, because when it becomes to your opponent's turn, this is when you play this card out, because it's red counter. So you -1 Don back to the deck. Give up to a total of 2 of your opponent's leader at all characters -3,000 power during the turn. So let's say their leader's swinging into my leader for 7 or 8. Let's say 7. I pick the leader and one of their characters to lose 3,000. So 7 would bring it back down to 4, which brings it under 5. Because the leaders started 5 except for Whitebeard. So then that attack doesn't go through. But when they go to use that other character, A, they've used all their Don up so they can't swing with it. Or B, they've got to use all their Don to try and swing at your lead. So you're making it very hard for them to distribute their Don cards out by doing that. But this is a really good card. And on trigger, if your opponent has 6 or more Don cards on their field, your opponent returns 1 Don card from their field to their Don deck. So you can make them lose a Don on trigger as well. It's not too bad. I'd probably keep it to actually use it as a counter. But yeah, I've played this deck and for me, it's really good. Like, it is insane. I can't believe how good the deck is. I didn't think it was going to be this good. As I said, I've only lost a match against Whitebeard with this deck. If you guys like the cards that I have in this deck, I've laid them all out on screen. This one here is obviously Jack. Go check it. Go to the sim, load this deck list up, and go check it out. It's actually not that bad. Also, guys, thank you so much for dropping in, checking out the deck profile of the week. We're going to try and keep this up. It might be a deck profile one week, it might be a sim battle the next. I've got to try and keep these pre-records happening for you legends. And as always, what do I say? Stay legendary, and I'll catch us all on the next one.